good chief gives, he does not take.
藤原の秀衡の恩は来世でなければ返せまい。
It's on this side. I'm with niggas on this side, yeah. I'm with the ball on this side. Really couldn't make it on this side. Trying to keep back this clear mind. I done ran life on this side. I can't know score about this side. I made a lot of money on this side. First people on the side. I'm with niggas on the side, yeah. I'm with the side. You can make it on the side. Keep back. I'm with the side. Sorry. A lot of money on this side. My first kiss on this side. I'm with niggas on this side, yeah. I'm with a ball on this side. Really make it on this side. Try to keep back, look in mind. I'm wearing the light on this side. On this side, made a lot of money on this side. My first kiss on this side. I'm with niggas on this side, yeah. I'm with a ball on this side. Really couldn't make it on this side. Trying to keep back, what's in mind. I'm wearing the light on this side.
Queen by title, but in deeds a king. fanciest robes in the world are only... As the daughter of a king, I will not give way to such painful consequences.
藤原の秀衡の恩はさあ
내가 죽거든 두꺼비의 성난 모습은 곧 군사의 모습이니라.
A good chief gives. He does not take.
さあ
Who is the real barbarian? A good chief gives. He does not take.
Enviaré a los invasores al infierno.
Since we connect behind closed doors, spark this fire even you. No telling where we will be. Surrender to your control. Take away. It's not
A good chief gives. He does not take.
I fight for my lost freedom
Can't
and my
live
outraged daughters.
recklessness for
is the real barbarian?
Warrior, you will not best me.
Dangerous places are always alluring.
Who is the real barbarian?
藤原の秀衡の恩は来世でなければ返せまい。
A good chief gives. He does not take.
We must conquer or die!
is the real barbarian?
Taste my blade!
Surviving constant.
Why, hello there. What do you want? You want to migrate to the kingdom? It's Kingdom 1868. Right here. 1868. We're in DC.
A good chief gives. He does not take. Who is the real barbarian?
さあ
Who is the real barbarian?
I love watching a spider prey on its victims.
A good chief gives. He does not take.
The Iceni pay no more tributes.
Who is the real barbarian?
Warrior, you will not best me.
Lots of big shot, play a lot, big shit, just elite shit, People on the record, people again, it's the brand new fuck the risk, we try many times with a 3-1, instead of writing around, I'd rather be one. Okay, watch what you know, I live in the down, and believe that I'm just
La fleur de mon cœur ne fanera jamais.
On the battlefield, my lance is my life.
La fleur de mon cœur ne fanera jamais.
It's national, black, it's looking back, go, try to be stopped with 3-1, the right and loud, left, 1, 2, 2, 1, shoot, look the first one, yes, I do.
Je ne crains rien, sauf la trahison. La fleur de mon cœur ne fanera jamais.
藤原の秀衡の恩は来世でなければ返せまい。
stay valid. Only being valid. Proof by kids. One night. One night. Stay valid. Stay valid. Only being valid.
Who's the real barbarian?
Proof by kids. One night. Stay
Taste my
valid.
blade!
Only being valid. Proof by kids.
Me bucellari,
One night.
defendenti imperium.
One night.
Imperatore, non dubitare mea devotionem.
Astufakir. One night. Astufakir. One night. Stay valid. Only being valid. Astufakir. Bonus. One night. Bonus. Stay valid. Only being valid. Astufakir. So, stay valid. One night. One night. One night. One night. Astufakir. One night. One night. One night. Stay valid. Only being valid. Astufakir. Bonus. Stay valid. Only being valid. Astufakir. One night. One night. One night.
A good
One
chief
night.
gives. He does not take.
Taste my blade!
One night. 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 you could some ammunition. Shoot down the fool. Don't need a strategy. Play the song. Just follow. There you go. Everything around you. Still country. Oh my. Stay grounded. Just stay grounded. Everything around. I still country. Do oh my. Just stay grounded. Everything around you is. I still country. Please. Do oh my. I still country. Do. Oh my. I still fucking G. Oh my. I still fucking G. Oh my. I still fucking oh my. From the same guys. What do you mean? I still fucking G. Oh my. Oh my. Thomas. From the same guys. What do you mean? Still fucking G. Stay guys. Oh my. Oh my. Still fucking
The fanciest robes in the world are only half as handsome as a military uniform.
Oh my. Oh my. I'm just saying, guys. What do you mean? Still fucking Thomas. I'm just saying, guys. What do you mean? Still fucking oh my. Oh my. Oh my.
Queen by title, but indeed I shall become your nightmares incarnate.
藤原秀衡の恩は来世で衣川の太刀へは今日多くて吉少なし
이 꽃의 나라는 덕으로 다스려야 하는 법.
Si je n'y suis pas, je n'ai pas peur. Tel est mon destin.
My enemies will choke on their own blood. I fight for my lost freedom and my outrage.
さあ
A good chief gives. He doesn't.
My enemies will choke on their own blood.
is the real barbarian? A good chief gives. He does not take.
Taste my blade!
A good chief gives. He does not take.
Reconquista comienza ahora.
Who is the real barbarian?
Taste my blade!
Stay connected to your journey. based on increasing success. Stay connected to your journey. The journey is not based on increasing success. Always stay connected to your journey.
Queen by title, but in deeds a king. The fanciest robes in the world are only half. As the daughter of a king, I will not give way to such painful consequences.
これも我が宿命衣川の太刀へは今日多くて吉少なし。
My enemies will choke on their own blood.
さあ
This rose blooms as red as Roman blood.
A good chief gives.
Warrior, you will not hesitate. Me Bucellari, defendent Imperium. Imperatore, noli dubitare mea devozione.
I fight for my lost freedom and my outraged daughters. fight for my lost freedom and my outraged daughters.
Nintendo and the Pokemon Company do not respect their customers, and they don't respect the money that they're spending on their games, or at least that's how they've been treating us for the better part of a decade. And honestly, as a gamer, I'm sick of it. I'm honestly just sick of it, which is why I keep banging the drum on this issue. And to be fair, I genuinely thought my last video covering the Legend ZA sales numbers from Japan was Legend Zaza just released the global first week sales numbers for Pokemon Legends EA, and it kind of made things look even worse than I thought. But not only that, the average Pokemon fans that are leaving hate comments on all of my videos are over on Twitter celebrating this data as if Nintendo is like splitting the profits with them, as if they did anything. Buddy, you're cheering on the fact that they literally scammed you out of your money again. What are you celebrating? You own the haters online? You got okay back, whatever you said. You read about the DLC, and if it's true, it's even more of a cash grab than I even thought originally. Anyway, today we're going to dive into the official first week global sale of Pokemon Legends GA, what we need, and then later in the video, we're going to cover a more serious Pokemon topic that has to do with the toxicity and harassment in the Pokemon community. I'll share with you guys my thoughts and opinions on everything, but first, what's going on, guys? People came to say hi. Are you just going to sit? You're just gonna sit right. Okay. Oh yeah, just lay down on my keyboard. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, I'm putting it. You said to leave a like, by the way. Anyway, let's jump right in here. Pokemon Legends GA sells over 5.8 million copies in its first week, cementing the real-time RPG as a success, even if it's still lagging behind Legends Arceus. So the writing is on the wall, folks. We'll dive into this in just a minute. The Pokemon Company announced in a press release that in its first week, Pokemon Legends GA has already sold 5.8 million copies, with about half of those sales coming from Switch 2 Edition. This will immediately put it into the echelon of best-selling Switch 2 games. Mario Kart World sold 5.6 million in its first month, according to Nintendo, and considering it is estimated that it only needs to sell 200,000 copies to break even, I'm sure Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are happy. That's right, folks. They made sure the budget for this game was so small that it all but guaranteed that they could not deliver a quality product to the consumer, and now they are celebrating that they're selling millions and millions of copies and maximizing their profit to the moon, and all the customer is left with is a buggy game that feels incomplete with a small world map, $30 day one DLC, and the list of complaints goes on and on and on. Let's take a look at the official press release here. It is, of course, in Japanese. We can use Google Translate to translate this, and basically it tells us exactly what we just read. They kind of go on and talk about, the plot of the game and what Legends ZA is all about. So, on the topic of the game selling really well, we over on Twitter saying things like this. So, random YouTubers and social media drifters spouting loving, how will you spin this one as the game bomb? The game bombed. It's like these people read books and somehow reach their own conclusions and make up things about what they think the other side is saying. Literally nobody said this game was gonna bomb. What are you talking about? Even talking about how awful it was, I said the game would probably go on to sell between 10 and 15 million units, and this first week's sales is like right in line with that. I just that about 13, it was bad off the You know, this is the response. I mean, no one said it would bomb. Quite the opposite. They said it would lengthy and a bad game overall, and proof that Nintendo fans will eat any slop they're given. This user says no one is saying the game bombed at all. What are you talking about? There was a report about Let's Sell. The also happened to be doing about your digital over physical sales mostly these days. I just covered this in a video. Most of the discourse is because it's overhyped, underbaked, and has zero voice acting. It's $100 in Canada for the Switch 2 version. That's the real offense here, to be honest. And then, of course, the user responds saying people said the game bombed. Again, I have not seen anybody say that this game is a win or flop. I don't know anyone predicted that. Even all the people on YouTube and Twitter who are hating on the game right now, everyone knows Pokemon's going to sell well, right? That was never in anyone's predictions. So we've got Pokemon fans celebrating victories over a hallucinated argument that no one's been making. Or maybe they have been, and I just haven't seen it. You guys can let me know if there's people with 4 likes on Twitter that are saying the game is going to bomb. I don't know. And let me be very clear. I'm not as stupid as I look, alright? If somebody looks at the titles and thumbnails of my videos, I can see how if they have a preconceived notion about me or my content, they would arrive at the conclusion that they think that I think that the game was going to bomb. But again, I never said that, and I don't know anyone else who said that, so if you're just coming to that conclusion all on your own based on your own biases, that seems more like your own problem than anybody else's. And on the topic of Pokemon Glazers just hallucinating things, we see stuff like this over on Reddit, and I also saw this shared on Twitter. Just gonna put this here, new Pokemon game comes out, toxic fans bitch about it, fans start to glaze it online, quote, that game was always good. Buddy, this has 2.6 thousand upvotes, and not a single person actually ever said this. They literally just made this up. I've not seen a single person come out and be like, wow, I hated Legends CA when I first bought it, but now 4 days later, I actually changed my mind. I love this game. Like, no, there are 3 types of people, okay? You either bought the game and loved it, and you don't even know that there's backlash. 2, you bought the game, seeing the backlash, was curious, you bought the game, you liked it, in which case, you were never a toxic fan, you just didn't know what to think, and now you like it. Or 3, you bought the game to hate play it, and you genuinely hate it, and that's it. So they're hallucinating stuff like this to make them feel better, like, oh, we were right all along, there's all these people that were toxic, and now they love it. It's like, really, where? But anyway, I digress. Let's jump back into the real data here, because earlier in the video, I said that this official first week sales for Pokemon Legends ZA is actually worse than I thought it would be, and let me tell you guys why. The article that we just read actually alluded to it already, but it's the fact that Pokemon Legends Arceus was selling even better. Pokemon Legends Arceus has sold 6.5 million copies just a week after launch, Nintendo has announced. For some context, Legends Arceus' sales have outpaced Pokemon Sword and Shield's launch performance by about 500,000. Don't worry, we're going to go over other games in just a moment here. This was the official tweet from Nintendo of America saying thank you to the more than 6.5 million explorers worldwide who have already embarked on an exciting new adventure in Pokemon Legends Arceus. We hope you're loading up on more potato mochi before your next research mission. Okay, so what we see is that the predecessor to Pokemon Legends EA sold 6.5 million units worldwide, and the sequel, Pokemon Legends EA, sold 5.8 million units worldwide. So if we do some basic math, we can see that worldwide, Pokemon Legends EA saw a sales decline from its predecessor of 10.7%. Nearly an 11% sales drop-off from the last game, which, by the way, one of the biggest things that people were celebrating in the video that I just posted yesterday is that, oh my god, in Japan, the game sold better than Legends Arceus. We just totally owned the haters, yay. But now that we see the real data, it's like, okay, you barely outperformed in Japan, but you're down 10.5% globally. So actually, that's a bad thing. I don't know if you guys figured that out yet. It's not good to be down 10%. And it gets even worse when we take a look at the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sales, which surpassed 10 million global sales in the first 3 days. This was a new record. Miss Melee, bro. I miss Melee. Actually, I should probably pop that in. Now, there's a huge caveat here, and I will go a little bit deeper into that in just a minute, because it's something that I missed in my last video, and I want to be very clear. I want to cover all this as thoroughly as I possibly can. But the article goes on to say, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet may have some serious technical issues, but it seems to have no impact on sales of the new generation. Wow. I'm having deja vu. It's like release after release. You could start these articles with the exact same sentence every single time, and it would be true, right? All you have to do do is remove Scarlet and Violet here and type Legends EA, and you could just basically rehash this entire article. Hopping over to Nintendo's official corporate press release, this is what they said back in 2022. Global sales of Switch software Scarlet and Violet surpassed 10 million units for the first 3 days after its release. So this is, again, official global data from Nintendo specifically. This is not an estimate. This is not a guess. This is Nintendo specifically saying what the sales numbers were, okay? Now, one thing that I want to make sure I drill down on a little bit, because this is my bad. I did not drill down on this at all in my last video, and I meant to do so. I started to go down that path, and then my brain, I just got distracted and went off on a rant, and then the video ended, okay? But I do want to make it very clear that we're comparing Legends EA to Scarlet and Violet, which is a dual release, okay? This release had 2 games, Scarlet and Violet, and so when we look at 10 million units, that is spread across 2 games instead of 1. And as a matter of fact, I would be willing to bet that a lot of people actually bought the double pack, right, when the game came out. Like, it bundles it both of them together. I don't think you even got a steelbook, did we? No, it's still sealed. I forgot. I never even opened it. The box doesn't say it has a steelbook. I know Sword and Shield did, but I bet you it doesn't because, again, the Pokemon Company and Nintendo do not respect the consumer or their money, so they've been slowly giving us less and less for a higher price. Regardless, I want to be very clear here that I'm sure lots of people so much higher, right? I think that's logical to assume that. Now you could try to make the argument that, like, all right, so if it sold 10 million combined, that's 5 million for Scarlet, 5 million for Violet, which means, you know,
8 million?
Yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Oh, but that's your dad. What are you eating?
I'm eating a muffin.
Why are you talking to me? Eat your hot dog. Let me fix the phone. Wait. Can you see him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Actually, there we go. That's better. Alright. You can talk to him. Your chips right here. Juice. Check on the folks. I'll be right back. Adrian, talk to him. I'm angry. Talk to him. Whoa. That's your dad. Talk to him. Adrian.
Yo, how was your birthday?
His last turn is 21 for last year.
Huh?
Hmm?
You said, how was your birthday? Hello?
Yeah. That's not your birthday. I did not. I wasn't. What did you do? Why are you talking to me? Talk to him. I just think, hey.
What did you do on your birthday?
What did you do? I just eat cake. So you didn't go bowling. You didn't go arcade with me? No. Twist your hand. Look what you did. Go wipe your hand. Don't start with me. On your birthday, we celebrated cake up after. You did not go to the arcade. You did not go to the movie. You didn't. My brother, I just. Why are you free? Okay, that's last year. We're talking about this year that you just turned 7. What did you do? When I took you out, what did we do? Like bowling. Okay, so why tell him that? No, stuff like that get people in trouble. Don't say last year. Talk to him.
Nobody's gonna get in trouble.
Your birthday was what? This the 26th? Your birthday was 5 days ago.
Avery?
Talk to your father.
Avery?
Talk to him.
Avery,
Yeah?
why are you walking around in your underwear?
No, because my clothes are dirty.
Your clothes
Yeah, we're washing.
Oh,
You know, wear the Jet jersey because they playing today with the Eagles. They gotta wear the Jet jersey. Like we watched the National because we.
you like to watch anime?
Yeah,
Kind of anime you like?
Godzilla.
Huh?
Godzilla.
Godzilla?
That's my favorite Halloween.
Why you like Godzilla? Because he's big?
No, because he's the king.
He's
I'm
the
stuck outside.
king? What about King Kong? He's a king too.
But oh yeah, he's the king too.
But did you see when Godzilla and King Kong fight?
Yeah,
You like Godzilla better?
yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. You know about YouTube, right? Yeah, you know about YouTube. You always watching YouTube. I'm making a You-
That's
I'm making a
that's
YouTube
a
video
what?
right now.
Right now?
Yeah, I'm making a YouTube. You could probably hear yourself on YouTube because I'm recording, so they're gonna hear me talking to you. Yeah. You a big boy. Your mom told me about how you got into a fight at school.
Hmm?
Hmm? You hit somebody at school?
Hmm?
Huh?
Hmm?
Did you hit somebody at school?
Hmm?
He wasn't bullying you?
He's my friend.
He's your friend. So if he's your friend, wasn't he pushing you or I didn't get the story right?
He don't do anything.
Okay. Don't let nobody bully you.
A good chief gives. He does not
Oh.
take.
Good. Hmm?
Oh,
Me? Bully?
yeah.
I beat up bullies. Unless they're females. If they're female, I don't beat them up, but yeah.
The bad guys.
How about what?
The bad guys.
The bikers?
The bad guys.
Bye guys? Bad guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't want to be a bad guy myself. I like to make sure I do it for a good reason.
Oh.
Like if somebody was gonna hit your mom, you have all right to beat them up.
Don't do that.
Yeah, you not now, but you know, there's a lot of crazy people out there.
Give my to me. This is super fun, but okay.
All day.
The boy is about boy, but speak all. But two sponges like warm. And my unskilled people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Bad boy. Yeah, bad boys. They tall. Which auntie are you talking about? Which auntie are you talking about? Auntie who? I don't know her name.
No, it's you.
Oh,
You have an uncle?
I have a lot. You're gonna meet them one day.
What?
Yeah, there's a lot of people in your family. You only meet like half of your family. There's a lot of people who want to meet you.
Oh,
Yeah, you have a big family, a very big family.
for you.
My family is your family.
What? No.
Yeah, that's what a family is.
But do you live in Mexico?
Mexico.
Yeah.
No, I live in Florida just like you. Mexico. That's what your mom told you. I live in Mexico.
Doing that.
No, I'm just asking. Why you think I live in Mexico?
Right, and I'm here. Here, right here. Negative. Okay. Here we go, buddy. I'll liver.
You know somebody in Mexico?
No.
What you know about Mexico?
They speak Spanish.
They speak Spanish. Yeah, they do speak Spanish. Do you know any Spanish words?
Hola.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Mi good.
Oh wow, you're good. You know more Spanish words than me when I was your age. I didn't start learning Spanish till I was like 12 years old.
What
Uh-huh.
true.
Creole? That's awesome. That's awesome. My younger sister, I got two little sisters. They're Haitian, and my dad my dad was trying to get them to learn Creole, but they they only learn a little bit of Creole, but they understand it.
I
Yeah.
love this. Oh, Spanish.
Nope, no Spanish, just English and Creole. I speak Patois, that's Jamaican.
What? Some people want to speak Spanish.
Nah, Spanish is not my language. You thought I was living in Mexico? You thought I speak Spanish? What?
My mom speaks Spanish.
Yeah, 'cause she's smart, I guess.
If, if they speak Spanish on the planet God, speak Spanish in Mexico.
Yeah, you speak Spanish, it helps you make more money too.
What?
Yeah, the more languages you speak, the more you could get hired in places. They'll give you more money for speaking languages
Oh,
because they need you. When someone needs you, they'll pay you.
Who is the real
$1.
I like your hair.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nothing. Nothing. His name's Ayik. He's my cousin to God.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just keep it the number. My cousin.
You say what?
He's keeping the number all day to 100. But I don't. He speaks Spanish to my big cousin.
Oh, well, laundry is important.
Hmm?
It's important to do laundry.
Oh, not me.
Yeah, you gotta keep your clothes clean. I,
No.
Do you have any of those Hot Wheel cars that I got you?
Okay, what is cool? What?
Hmm?
Wait, what is the choice?
Yeah, the Hot Wheel cars. The little toy cars.
Oh, my God. No, the Hot Wheels bus.
Just a bus.
Right there. By the Bible. See it? The white napkin? Towel? Here's me. Why did you close it tight? No, because he told me to drink too. Yeah, but you're not drinking. You're too busy stuffing your face. No, because I'm trying to get my creeps. But you're talking about these. I have like a whole bag of them. Yeah, I have my card.
Oh.
Bag of the Frankenstein. I just like he be acting like he doesn't know, but when people when you just meet him, he knows exactly where it's at. But when people ask a question, he don't. Yeah, everything. All this. What are you talking about? Whose toys are you? All it is. Oh, this is the cut we have on Mary. Okay, that's what you're talking about. You have a whole stack. Well, wait, but you don't clean it for yourself. Take it,
Got your mom mad.
See if I need that. Don't let that.
Said that kid that he said that kid that he was got into altercation with at school that's his friend.
Apparently, right?
The hell?
I guess guys don't hold grudges. They made up. Are they cool?
Oh,
Uh-oh.
that's good. I guess that's a better alternative.
I guess. Will you talk to him, please? Okay.
Who's the real barbarian?
Where you at, Avery? I don't even see you.
Right here.
In your green undies.
Huh?
I want to send you some stuff. It's like
So much. Yeah.
I feel like you got too many toys.
Yes, he does. Okay. Like, put the camera. The ones I didn't open, they go to the box.
Oh wow.
Camera, honey. I don't know. Put the camera. Whenever I like this. There it goes. Look, that's what he has. There it goes. Your finger's covering it.
Oh wow.
Alright, go to the bottom. Yes, there's bottom. And show him all this crap that you have.
Oh wow.
Including the song that he hasn't touched. Yep. All this ones you have. That's just I really do. Alright, put the pen.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
You got a lot of toys.
I'll take the photos. What's that? So we're gonna take a look at this one.
Your nose is running.
Huh?
Your nose is running.
My nose?
Yeah.
I don't know. Favorite club is what? 26? Alright. The 18th.
Yeah.
Okay. In Rocket, I'm scared too.
Huh?
I'm scared of being.
You have skin what?
No, the scary ones, please.
Oh, you like scary stuff?
No!
I thought you liked scary stuff.
I don't.
Oh, that's funny. Well, you like Godzilla. Isn't Godzilla scary?
Yes. No, I think it's not scary.
Okay. If you say so.
Here, put your pants on. Power on. Oh, no, wear shorts or pants? Shorts. Why? Because I feel there's not the process thing closer. Well, with a jacket, you want to wear. It looks like this, or you want to wear like a shirt. It looks like this. Oh, they were the Beagles today at 1. What? They made Beagle. Oh. Well, okay, look good when you're across the ice off. Ice off. Yeah. Wear your t-shirt. Right? Yeah. Right here. You got your nose? You got your nose? Yeah. It's one off. Okay. Color white or black? Soft. Black. Oh, like what was the other? I don't think one of them studying goes. You can't say it's probably for this. No, darn. But it's usually stupid. You we do big monkeys. Video. Sexy. Hello. Mama? Tia? Tia? Jackie. Right here. Color. White or black? Soft. Hey. Right now. Huh? What am I showing? What? What about sweetie? The white out sweetie? Yeah. Yeah, I got. Say hi, go. Hi. 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 Yeah. Yeah, just like Chris. Chris is right. Perfect. Yeah. And I'm gonna not by yourself. You know what I mean? For the letter thing. Okay. Yeah. We'll get the Yeah. No, those two right there is brown. Yeah. Wait, that's brown. Yeah. The back of the body. You know it? Mom, come on, look there. Look at the. Mom, you gotta get rid of that. Take it loose. But the phone, no, why not? Oh, like, it's nothing. You'll be like, oh, sorry, Adrian. Almost done. Oh.
Why are you saying sorry to me?
Don't take it. Come on. Did you want to go? Yeah. So you just did that. I just couldn't. You go with me and I'm gonna go. That's pretty like, I want to say it's probably just like a bomb so they can once when you like cold, so they can try to. Like, yeah, you're like, yeah. Alright, so here, put yourself on, be your top, then look at me, look through that. Today,
You.
so, it must be, I was being pulled up, but I didn't, then I realized God did my little number. On the Roblox. I have my new number in Roblox.
You put your new number
Yeah, in Roblox.
in what?
In Roblox.
Boondocks?
Roblox.
Roblox.
Yeah, that's the game.
Oh. You put your number in Roblox?
Yeah, and my name.
You like to play Roblox?
Yeah.
Oh. Don't you have to spend money in that game to have fun?
Who's spending my $100?
You want me to get you some Roblox coins?
Like, wait, V-Bucks?
Huh?
V-Bucks! V-Bucks? Roblox, V-Bucks. Like, I've used it. So I'll
Yeah, well, when you play that game, don't you have to have Roblox coins or Roblox points to do stuff?
Oh, that's V-Bucks!
Rebooks?
Yeah.
That's what they're called?
Yeah, that's the call. I know.
Oh. You want me to get you some?
Yeah! Hey, since Sunday, I don't have it right now. It's okay, let's take my turn. You can put yours.
What? You play Roblox too?
My mom. Hurry up. We'll talk to him when we get there. Huh? We'll talk to him later when we get there. Okay, I will talk to you in a little bit. Like, it feels like the next hour. I'm gonna talk to you later.
Okay. Later.
Should we put the ball? Yeah. Yeah. You can go. Bye, Adrian.
Bye, Avery.
version sold 5 million per copy. Now we're selling 5.8 million, and like that's an increase, I guess, if you want to do like mathematical gymnastics to try to fit a narrative. But I don't think that makes any logical sense, and here's why. Okay, if you're making the argument that it's split down the middle, 5 million for each version, then what you're saying is Pokemon literally doubles their sales by just adding a second version. Okay, if that's true, right? If I'm following your logic, if that's all it takes, why wouldn't they release Legends Arceus in 2 versions? Does that make sense? Like, if it's really that simple, why wouldn't they just do Pokemon Legends EA Gold version, Pokemon Legends EA Silver version, and then they just double their sales? If that was really the entire picture that we're trying to paint here, why would they not just easily double their sales, right? And that's kind of a genuine question. I'm genuinely asking, like, to me, it would make, like, hey, why not just do that, right? I mean, the mindless consumers are going to buy anything anyway. Just do it. Just make it a 2-pack. Regardless, I don't think it makes sense to assume that it would only have sold 5 million if you just erased one of these units, right? But that's all speculation. We're never going to know for sure because we don't have the actual numbers. Now, remember earlier, I said we're going to touch on these Sword and Shield numbers, and we do have an official post from the Japanese Pokemon Twitter account. They said fastest and most in Nintendo Switch software history, Pokemon Sword and Shield surpassed 6 million units sold worldwide in its first week of release. Now, I do want to break down the Legends EA sales a little bit more, so we will talk about that in just a second. But okay, so going back to our argument from before, if we assume that cutting this in half is 5 million for each, so you're saying that it's only 3 million per sword, per shield? I don't know. I don't think that makes any sense. Again, there was a dual pack. I think a lot of people bought both. But I do think it's interesting that we have 6 million units sold worldwide for Sword and Shield. That was back in 2019, November 2019. And now we've got 5.8 million copies sold for Legends EA in October 2025. So in 6 years, you have about the same number of sales. Again, I know that some people bought both, so it's not apples to oranges. I totally hear you, but I don't know. That just feels not good. And here's why, right? And I've mentioned this in a previous video, but let's go back to the Legends Arceus first week sales for just a second, okay? Because I think this is, of course, the most logical comparison to make, right? They're both Legends games. They both have just one version instead of 2. I think it's fair to compare these two because they are the most similar, okay? Legends Arceus came out in January of 2022, which means Nintendo had 2022, 2023, 2024, and half of 2025 to sell more Switch units, and they sold tens of millions of them, by the way, and they sold like 7 or 8 million Switch 2 units. Remember, Legends EA is on both consoles. What you're telling me is that the install base for the Switch, plus the Switch 2, is never been bigger. This is the biggest possible install base, and Nintendo sold tens of millions more Switch 2s in the last 3.5 years, and yet Legends EA still didn't sell as well as Legends Arceus. How is that even possible? How do you have nearly an 11% drop in sales worldwide from the predecessor to the sequel, despite having a larger install base? Does that make any sense logically? If you have more customers who are able to play your game, and yet you see a 10.5% sales decrease, I don't know, that seems not good, right?
Not good.
I mean, how are we going to spin this to be positive? I mean, I guess you could say, well, people bought the day one DLC, and the Switch 2 version cost more, so like they made more money off of it, so even though the sales are down, profits are up, and that's all that matters, so yay profit, I guess? I don't know. And not to repeat myself, but this is what I meant earlier when I said that the global sales numbers are actually worse looking than the Japan sales numbers, because at least when you look at like the Famitsu sales data that we already touched on in the last video, you could say, oh man, look at Legends EA, it's sold as well or more than Legends Arceus, let's go, the haters were wrong, like this game is so good, everyone loves this game, and all the grifters online are just making stuff up, right? Like, you could do that, and, like, I guess you could have an argument there, but now that they released the official data, it's like, okay, actually, wait, sales are down by 10.5%, so, okay, well, there goes that argument. I guess Legends EA didn't sell better than Arceus after all. And just to be super thorough, let me remind you that Legends Arceus came out 2 months after Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So in that context, not only did customers just spend money on probably a double pack, but at least one other Pokemon game just 2 months earlier, but launching a brand new game in January is like the worst month to launch a game because everyone just spent all their money during the holiday season. A lot of times, people are not spending a lot in January. And so when you compare the context of that situation, everyone just already bought another Pokemon game and they spent all their money in Holiday, and yet even still, Legends Arceus still outsold Legends ZA, which, by the way, is the first Pokemon game for a shiny brand new system, and it's launching just in time for Holiday. Legends ZA had the deck stacked in its favor in every way possible to outsell Legends Arceus, and it still didn't do it. And so if we extrapolate that 10.5% sales reduction across the life of Legends ZA, which maybe you can do that, maybe you can, I don't know, but we could assume that if Legends Arceus went on to sell, let's say, 15 million units, because this is old data, this data is from like 2023, I think it's safe to assume that Legends ZA will go on to sell maybe 13.5 million copies. That's about a 10% reduction from 15 million of Legends Arceus, which, as a reminder, is like right in line with what I originally predicted the sales would be. I said it would be probably between 10 and 15 million. I think it will still land in that range, right? It could undersell, it could oversell for all I know. Like maybe they keep the marketing push going and I don't know. But let me make one more thing abundantly clear, okay? And I've seen this comment a lot on my videos, which is why I want to touch on this, okay? If you bought the game and you liked the game, I am genuinely happy for you. That's fantastic, right? There is so much negativity in the world that if you are able to find solace and bliss in this half-baked piece of trash, then by all means, I am happy for you. Like, I know I'm like being rude and obnoxious. I get that. Sometimes I can't help myself, but I really am happy for you. Like, who cares what people on the internet are saying, okay? The game could be a 2 out of 10 by everyone's standards, and if you're the only one in the world that likes the game, that's all that matters, okay? It really is that simple, open and shut case. You don't need YouTubers to agree with you. It doesn't matter if YouTubers disagree with you. If you put the game in and you play it and you like it, then that's all that matters, genuinely. That is the open and shut case. That is the reality, okay? The whole point of the discussion that we're having on this channel about Legends ZA is that quality and fun are not mutually exclusive, and you can make a game that looks good and is still as fun or more fun than any Pokemon game we've played on the Switch. And like, to be clear, I'm not a graphics end-all be-all kind of guy. It's not like all I care about is graphics, and that's why I'm harping on this. Like, no, a game can be fun. Tetris is fun. Like, I played Tetris on the TV with my girlfriend a week ago, and we played it for like 2 hours, alright? And it's not the new Tetris 99 Battle Royale game. We tried that, but we were playing mostly the NES version, the original one that's on the Switch Online. So no, graphics are not the end of the story here, and a game can have horrible graphics and still be fun, right? But just because that's true doesn't mean we should be okay with games that look 20 years old. Like, there's really, at a certain point, there's no excuse for the game to look that bad. I mean, come on. Like, what are we doing? It's okay for consumers to demand quality from the highest grossing media franchise in the world. Like, that you're spending $70 on this, plus the DLC if you bought it. Like, you should get a quality product. What are we talking about, right? Again, this is not mutually exclusive. I know you think the game's fun. That's fine, right? But, like, can we at least agree it shouldn't look that bad? Like, what are we doing? Now let's go over the DLC leak that I mentioned earlier in the video. And really quick, if you guys noticed in this video, I've been redacting people's names. And for full transparency, it's because these videos that I've been making about Pokemon have gotten way more views than I ever thought. And I am not interested in any drama on the internet. I genuinely do not care who you are. I'm not interested in like any sort of drama or dialogue. Even if you love Pokemon, we probably would be friends in real life. Like, I have no intention of sending hate or like negativity towards any specific individual. I'm merely talking about the ideas in this video. So the person posting this stuff does not matter. Okay, in this case, it's a leak. I don't really want that person to get in trouble if this ends up being true. But anyway, here's what they say is a confirmed leak. And again, I don't know if this is confirmed or not. They said over 150 returning Pokemon, 19 new Mega Evolutions plus returning Megas, new Mega Road Battles, 2 brand new moves, over 86 new side missions worth the $30. Now, the reason that I'm reporting on this is because I actually did see some things similar to this before the game even came out. I don't know if you guys know this, but Legends ZA actually leaked before the official release date, and I did see some leaks sort of mumbling about something right along these lines, and so now we're seeing the same leak from multiple sources. I think it's a little bit more credible. Again, no idea. This could be completely wrong. I have no idea. So I just want to be very clear there. But because there's multiple sources reporting the same things, I'm inclined to believe that there's at least some truth to this, okay? And what this means is, right, let me just be clear here. The game launched with, I think, 234 Pokemon in the Pokedex in the base version, which is not only less than the 242 from Legends Arceus, but it's even less than the 251 from Gold and Silver, which came out in Japan in 1999 for the Game Boy. So ancient technology here, alright? So Legends EA has a shockingly low number of Pokemon, and I think now we know the reason why. It's because they want to charge you $30 for an extra 150. That's crazy. That is just robbery. They're just stealing your money. They just yoinked it right from. They intentionally cut 150 Pokemon. This is what this means. They intentionally cut 150 Pokemon just to sell them back to you for $30, right? These Pokemon were planned to be in the game from day one, and yet they're releasing them a few months later, but charging you on day one for it. Raise your hand if you think it's because they need to actually build all these models. Come on, no one believes that. That's insane. Everyone knows it's already ready. The entire reason that the DLC was available for purchase on day one, and even before that, I think you could pre-order the DLC, by the way, is to just capitalize on the maximum hype level of the game, okay? Because by the time February comes around, no one's going to buy this DLC. They're going to have already beaten the game months ago. It's only like 25, 30 hours of content. No one's going to care about this by the time February comes around. They're not, okay? But they know that you were hyped about the game before its release, and so they just farmed you before it came out, and now you're stuck with it. You already bought it. You got double scammed. Not only is the base game more money than any other Pokemon game, it was $70 on the Switch too, but they intentionally cut content to sell you $30 DLC, which is more money than Silksong, by the way. Like, it's half the cost of the Switch version of this game. Like, it's really an expensive DLC, and it's just cut content. Right now, there might be, like, some story and stuff like that. I'm sure there's other stuff. So this game is not only a slap in the face to the valuable customer, but it's a spit in the face right after. I actually just feel bad for the Pokemon community. I just feel bad. Like, you guys are actually just you're getting farmed. You are literally being spawn camped. Like, day one, they've already got their hands in your pocket again. It seems impossible to
Oh my god. Spawn camp.
They're just off in their own little world. And speaking of the Pokemon community that seems to be so toxic these days on the internet, let's talk about another aspect of the Pokemon community, alright? One of the biggest competitive Pokemon players is taking a break because of fan harassment. Wolfie says fans have touched him, let's go with that, and otherwise overstepped at competitive events. You guys would know him as Wolfie VGC, fantastic YouTube channel. I've seen tons of these videos, really enjoy the content there. Wolfie is one of the most prolific competitive Pokemon players in the space. He's won the official World Championship tournament, competed in several events around the world, and has amassed millions of followers on his YouTube channel where he talks about competitive Pokemon in the events he attends. However, Blix says in a lengthy new video that he will likely step away from in-person events because of harassment from fans. The pro player said he's had to deal with fans being inappropriate to him during pictures and pushing boundaries, like touching him without consent. He says this meant leaving this year's Worlds tournament early because he wasn't able to watch the event in peace after he had been eliminated, and the stress he feels from these events has now started to outweigh the enjoyment of competing in the tournament themselves. Luke also says he wants to be there primarily to compete, but the fan interactions have begun overtaking his private time at the shows, and even in some cases prevented him from getting to the matches on time. And this is just sad, man. It really is. And like, look, is this commentary on the Pokemon community, or is this commentary on just how people treat YouTubers, famous, online individuals? Maybe it's both, right? I think it probably has more to do with him having such a large fan base, right? I mean, realistically, this is not exclusive to the Pokemon community. As you guys know, I mean, this happens to movie stars, actors, actresses, it happens to Twitch streamers, it happens to everybody, unfortunately, right? Like, it's disgusting that it happens to anybody, but it's not exclusive to the Pokemon community, and it really sucks, and I hope that he's okay, genuinely. Like, I really wish him the best, because, again, he's had fantastic content, given me hours of entertainment over the years, and I'm glad to see he is prioritizing his mental health, and furthermore, making a video about this, touching on the topic and spreading this awareness is, like, the best way to use anyone's platform, right? I mean, like, truthfully. But I will say, and this is purely anecdotal, so I have no evidence of this, but it does feel like the Pokemon community has been more toxic lately, like in the last year or so. Even with the release of Legends EA, I feel like the discourse has just just hit fever pitch. And maybe this is because of, social media. I think that, let's be real here, social media platforms do kind of have a financial incentive to stoke the flames a little bit, to increase engagement, increase interactions. Every time you get a notification on your phone about someone leaving a hate comment, you open up the app to respond, right? So, there is a financial incentive to stoke the flames here, and I think the platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, even YouTube have a particular role to play in, cultivating this toxicity. But I do think Twitter, especially lately, has felt particularly bad. I'll just say that. And look, I know in these videos I come off very abrasive, I'm an a-hole, and I'm very blunt with my opinions. And so it's no real wonder why, I would get backlash from the Pokemon community. Obviously, if I can dish it out, I can take it, right? But seeing Wolfie actually say things like this, and it's not just these in-person instances that he's talking about. You can go ahead and watch this video. He actually talks about the toxicity and the pressure of the community itself. And so I'm especially surprised this year after being eliminated from World, just the level of hate and vitriol that I'm seeing online. I got offline frequently in part because of this, but I just think that the level and the rate of messages that I can't even repeat here because of some of the things people are saying has increased to a level that I'm not super comfortable with. When you look at him and you think, okay, well, that's a guy that the Pokemon community should really like. I mean, his review of Scarlet and Violet was he was all in. He was talking about how much he loved those games, right? And so, if there's anybody that the Pokemon community should love, it would be somebody like him who makes just Pokemon content that's for the Pokemon community, and he's done it for years, right? I'm not part of the Pokemon community. I'm just a fan of the games. I'm just talking about Pokemon now because it's relevant and it's in the news. I'm not actually always talking about it on Twitter and discussing this. No, it's just the topic of the moment right now. But if even he is noticing all the toxicity in the Pokemon community, then it's okay, well, do I deserve that? Sure, totally, but I don't think that he does, and I think that is a commentary on the Pokemon community itself, not just the fact that I'm very blunt in my delivery. I think that's obviously a component of why I get, hate comments, obviously. But it's also clearly the case that it's not just me. The Pokemon community definitely has something to do with it. And also, let me just say one last thing here, just be very clear. I'm not saying that the Pokemon community does this weirdo touching stuff in public. This is obviously just a small handful of total weirdos, okay? But let's just be very clear about that. The Pokemon community does not have a monopoly on being a weirdo. People in all shapes, sizes, and colors are weirdos, and we should condemn the individual, not a whole group of people, obviously, right? Obviously. The whole point of all this, and maybe I haven't worded this very well, but I thought I was getting toxicity and negativity because I'm taking a duty on their favorite thing, which is true, but it also seems to be the case that they're toxic to even just regular popular members of their community. It's wow, yeah, the community really is that toxic. That is super sad. And I've said this in past videos, but let me just reiterate here to be very clear, okay? The point of my videos is to spread this message that if you realize the games are slop, you're not alone. And you're allowed to demand quality from these giga corporations like Nintendo that are worth $100 billion, okay? The goal here is to be on the side of the gamer. The goal here is to be on the side of the consumer who's spending their hard-earned money on these games, $60, $70, $80 plus and more for online services, DLCs, whatever. I'm sticking up for you guys because I am you guys. I'm buying these games, and it's we're getting less for more money, and it sucks. That's the point of these videos. The point of it, I'm not here to crap on your childhood nostalgia. I have childhood nostalgia for the Pokemon franchise. You understand? It's because I'm such a fan of the series that I'm so critical of it. The things you love most are the things that you should hold to the highest standard, right? Just in the same way that it's worse to be disrespected by friends and family than it is by the guy that you're in road rage with, right? People on the street can flip me off. I don't care, right? It doesn't matter to me. But the people that I do care about, if I find out they're disrespecting me, it's even worse, right? And it's the same thing here with franchises that we've grown up with this thing. You know what I mean? And so it's worse to me that Pokemon of all franchises is releasing such low quality content, right? It feels worse to me than if, Madden does it, because I didn't grow up with Madden, right? I don't care about sports. But now I know how Madden players feel, right? Pokemon fans are getting the Madden treatment, and it sucks. We're just getting the same rehashed trash every year, and I'm just supposed to be okay with that. I'm just supposed to make YouTube videos about, oh my god, yay, the graphics look 15 years old. This is so good, you guys, yay. Oh my god, sales are down 10.5% globally, but everything's fine, you guys. Yes, dude, this is so good, yay. Please give me money, guys, yay. Now, committed to the end of this video, consider dropping a thumbs up down below. It's gonna help me fight off these so-called Pokemon fans that are gonna dislike bomb this video. And you might think you're subscribed, but you're actually not. Double check.
I see these ads all the time, but they're totally fake. Whenever I download them, they play nothing like the ads. That's because you downloaded the wrong.
Nintendo is a Pokemon company who do not respect their customers, and they don't respect the money that they're spending on. Well, we now have official numbers on Pokemon Legends ZA, and it's giving everyone a solid picture of where this particular game has fallen within the charts of other games in that series. But it also tells me another thing, which is why Pal World is being targeted too, and later on, I want to also explore a story about Activision's ex-CEO, claiming that Nintendo should go third party, but we'll get there. Firstly, let's just get into the sales. As seen here from Shack News, Legends ZA has officially sold 5.8 million units in its first week of sale, which is understandably massive. I mean, if you want a recent comparison, Battlefield 6 sold roughly 7 million units in its debut week, which was also confirmed to be the fastest selling Battlefield title of all time. So the fact that Legends here was able to get almost 6 million on just Nintendo hardware, of course, that's very good, obviously. Like I said in my other videos on Pokemon, this game was never going to fail. It's frankly just impossible for Pokemon to not be profitable, because with these sales numbers, it means that Nintendo has garnered somewhere maybe in the high 400 million in terms of money generated from the single title. But that profit margin excludes taxes and various currencies, but uses only USD. Of course, once you factor in taxes and regional currencies, Legends ZA might be made somewhere actually in like the 500 million plus range, which on a budget of $13 million is, well, a lot of money, you obviously can tell. Although it is funny how some people think lists from places like Circana have any legitimacy to show actual game sales, but Nintendo, for example, in case you don't know, they don't even allow their data on those kinds of lists, because if they did, Pokemon Legends ZA, Mario Kart World, and Donkey Kong, to name a few, would have easily also made that list. And unlike Circana's list, at least Nintendo actually tells us the real copies sold to players instead of just, I don't know, arbitrarily putting them on a list with no actual numbers. But that's just something I wanted to point out is all. But anyways, Legends ZA, it did sell well. It's confirmed, and in the UK sales report that people also freaked out was really just a lack of possibility. However, there was more interesting data reviewed within this too. So Legends ZA sold 5.8 million units, which again, that is a massive success no matter how you slice it. But people then started to take the performance of this game and then place it up against other Pokemon games that were released in the past few years. However, I also noticed how Eurogamer specifically, as you can see here, tried to frame Legends ZA's success in a way to make it seem like it was this monumental feat that used specific coding language. They say that Legends ZA outsold X and Y, which, yeah, it did. But weirdly, they use a much older Pokemon game to claim this victory while ignoring the newer games that are also available on the same platform. So why do that? What gives? Well, as Video Games Chronicle states here more accurately, Legends ZA is now the 5th highest in for a Pokemon game. So which games beat it? Well, basically anything else available on Switch 1 or 2 pretty much. The Diamond and Pearl remakes hit 6 million in a week. Sword and Shield was able to get to 6 million in a week as well, only on Switch 1 by the way, whereas ZA had Switch 1 and 2 for comparison. Interestingly so though, Legends Arceus was able to hit 6.5 million copies sold in a single week when it debuted in 2022 on the Nintendo Switch. And it obviously didn't have the Switch 2 to piggyback further sales on, but the current highest selling Pokemon game in a week is still Scarlet and Violet, which had a massive 10 million units sold, which was absolutely crazy, but nothing Pokemon-wise has been able to reach that level of hype. Until maybe, of course, the next official generation, but we'll see that in the future, of course. That being said, in terms of the Pokemon series on the Nintendo Switch 1 and 2, Legends ZA has officially sold the least amount of copies on Nintendo's dual hardware of the past almost 10 years. Of course, again, I'm not saying it's a flaw, far from it, but still, it is interesting, don't you think? That ZA wasn't able to, eclipse the sales of the Diamond remakes even, or even Arceus, I mean, despite having objectively far more consoles in the wild to also pull from. As I said in my previous video,
video on this. When Arceus came out, Nintendo had a total of 107 million Switches, give or take, sold to customers by March 31st, 2022. So out of that 107 million, they got 6.5 million copies of Arceus in a single week, which is, yes, objectively great. By the end of 2023, the number of Switches then rose to about 132 million units, which 10 million users obviously bought Scarlet and Violet that year in that year too. Now with Legend Z8, the Switch 1 has an install base of roughly 152 million units, give or take, with Switch 2 is also sitting somewhere near almost 10 million units as well. So all combined, with 162 million users or so now, Legend Z8 then sold less despite having a far wider net of users to cater to, so what gives? If I had to guess, it's the word of mouth online that probably did it. Again, it still sold well, Pokemon after all, I know, but it is very interesting that despite having such a large install base, only a fraction of the users actually bought the game here. What was also extra interesting too was that over 50% of the sales for Legend Z8 came specifically from Switch 2 users. As you can see here from IGN, where they confirmed that as well. A very interesting observation if you ask me, that half of Switch 2 users actually bought this game, but that roaring 152 million Switch fanbase behind it barely showed up to support the game at all. So what happened? Could be that the major reason is, well, a few things. One is that Legend Z8 costed more money at release than any other Pokemon game before it. We know this because Nintendo infamously raised the price of their first-party offerings, specifically with the Switch 2 to $80 American. This has made Legend Z8 in my country where I live, which is Canada, to retail at $100 Canadian for the Switch 2 version, a price unthinkable just a few years ago for a new game. The other major reason I think likely is that Legend Z8 runs less optimal and looks worse on an already not that great looking game, if I'm being honest, on the original Nintendo Switch hardware as well. So maybe people didn't buy the game because they knew if they did on the Switch 1, they would be getting arguably an inferior product compared to the Switch 2 version, which the game was clearly more designed for. But to be real with you, it makes little sense why Legend Z8 at all looks the way that it does on Switch 1 either way, since most of, if not all of Nintendo's first-party offerings are actually games that all look great in their own unique art styles on the Switch 1 when compared to anything Pokemon. Obvious examples include the Zelda games, Fire Emblem as well, especially the Xenoblade game. I haven't played the third one in that series, I've only played the first two. I've also never played Xenoblade X, but either way, all of those games, they run on the original Switch, and they look light years ahead of what Legend Z8 can achieve on the Switch 1 hardware, or even the Switch 2 even. So if I had to guess, and I'm being a conspiracy theorist here for a bit, I admit, but Nintendo likely just made the Switch 1 version not look as good to maybe entice people to upgrade. Because graphically, none of it makes sense why it would run over or considering against you can easily play, Breath of the Wild or Xenoblade, like I said, on that same hardware, and it looks 10 times better. And the third and final reason is pretty obvious, it's the community. I genuinely never seen people get so mad or upset with a Pokemon game before like this one. Maybe Scarlet and Violet came close because it ran like molasses at times, but I think now with the Switch 2 out and consoles like the PS5 and PCs achieving what they can, I think unanimously people are looking at Legend Z8 and comparing it to Nintendo's recent offerings and going, why does this look and run the way that it does? It really makes no sense. For example, you still have the new Hyrule Warriors game that's coming to Nintendo Switch 2. It arrives in November 2025. And if you look at that game, which you're seeing on screen here, it looks like it's running on a completely different console than what Legend Z8 was doing. Granted, of course, Age of Imprisonment is being made by Koei Tecmo and Nintendo as a joint operation, not really Game Freak, but regardless, you can't really tell me that a game that looks like this is coming out so soon to Legend Z8 and not feel like that you're maybe swindled. And again, people might try the gotcha of, well, Age of Imprisonment is only on Switch 2, whereas Z8 is cross-gen, which is true, but even if you go look at the original Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity that's on Switch 1 right now, it still completely destroys Legend Z8 in every single way. I personally believe that Nintendo just doesn't invest as much into the Pokemon game simply because they know that it is a money-printing machine no matter what they do, whereas they know they also need to objectively give more investment and time into their other franchises in order to ensure that they succeed and perform well, because they could in theory possibly fail, whereas Pokemon, well, we really can't. It is still frustrating either way. I'm sure Nintendo is happy with the performance regardless, because again, they made like $500 million at least off Legends Z8 either way. And I doubt that the game had a long development time or anything like that either. But it is interesting that ultimately it still objectively sold less than any other Switch era Pokemon game like it. While I wouldn't say it means there's a massive crack in the armor or anything like that, it's still an observation nonetheless. But either way, Nintendo is still absolutely crushing their competition when it comes to exclusive titles. I mean, it's not even close. else. Well, like I said earlier, it also made me raise an eyebrow to see the numbers here and then compare them to, say, a little game called Palworld. As you likely know, Palworld came out in 2004 when it first released, as seen here from IGN. It broke over 5 million units sold in just 3 days on Steam alone. But it was actually small estimates because in actuality, as GameDeveloper.com reported then later, Palworld officially then crossed over 8 million units sold on Steam alone within its debut week as a new franchise from a developer, by the way, without much of a track record to speak of. Yeah, no wonder Nintendo wants Palworld gone and erased from existence, because Palworld was able to hit over 2 million current players on Steam alone. But it gets frankly more concerning for Nintendo because there was some updates just this September 2025 on Palworld's lifetime sales. So how high do you think it is? 10 million? Maybe 15? The actual number, as Game 3 reports here, Palworld has sold 25 million units as of just last month, when this video was being published, of course. Like, that is astronomical. It means that Palworld has reached Elden Ring numbers, which is, yes, incredible. By the way, Legends Arceus' lifetime sales, that puts it just under 15 million units. The only Pokemon game, from what I can tell, that is beating Palworld, at least in this generation, is Pokemon Violet and Scarlet, which currently sits at around 26 million units sold so far. But even then, the fact that Pocket Pair's debut Palworld game effectively outsold almost every single Pokemon game around it, that is pretty impressive. I think we can all agree. Alinea Analytics was able to get actual raw numbers on Palworld recently too, as you can see here, and yeah, it crossed 25 million units and grown. Technically speaking, if you factor in Xbox, which has the Game Pass stuff, which Palworld was on when it first came out, Game Pass alone garnered around 10 million players of Palworld 2. That isn't sold, but still, just mentioning it either way. But if you want to make it official, that means copies sold so far is 25 million. Overall players reached is technically 35 million or so, but it's likely even higher now. It also shows that Pocket Pair has really no signs of slowing down either, since Pal Farm was announced as well recently. This is Pal Farm on screen, by the way. It's basically a spin-off title that will focus on the cozy game aspects that have been popularized by other games like Harvest Moon. I can really only imagine Nintendo will be even more angry knowing that this game exists as a rips off, maybe in their opinion, another game that they own, but hey, if Stardew Valley can exist, why can't this, right? But it's still very interesting that despite Nintendo's best efforts, only their mainline series' latest entry could challenge Palworld in the modern day landscape. I can only imagine where this will go from here, but it makes sense why Nintendo wants to annihilate Palworld from orbit. Because if my competitor was making their very first game and it sold more than pretty much anything my company made in the last 30 years, yeah, I would be pretty livid too. Anyways, I also wanted to talk about how Activision's ex-CEO Mike Ybarra recently spoke on Nintendo, and how he believes that they should actually just go full-blown third party, which is crazy, but here's what he said. Someone go tell Nintendo that exclusives are antiquated. Yeah, I think he's completely wrong, by the way. Firstly, I should probably provide context as to who and what he was responding to. So Mike Ybarra commented on a post from Charlie Intel on Twitter where Sarah Bond, that's Xbox's president, sat down and explained in her own opinion that she believes that exclusives are antiquated herself in the whole consoles and everything very much. This also came alongside the announcement of Halo campaign involved, which I'm sure you already know is coming to PlayStation 5. Anyway, here's what Sarah Bond said. Please watch.
A good chief gives, it does not take.
We're like
Defendenti Imperium.
blockbuster, exclusives fit into this, if at all, or is it kind of evolving past that?
We're really seeing people evolve way past
Who's
that.
the real
biggest games in the
barbarian?
world are mobile everywhere. You look at Call of Duty,
Maria,
you look at
you will
Minecraft,
not
you look at
best.
Fortnite, you look at Roblox. Like, that's actually what's really driving the game. That's where people gather, they have experiences. The idea of locking it to one store or one device is antiquated for these people. You want to be able to play with your friends anywhere, regardless of what they're on. And we're really leaning into that with this experience. It just opens up another way for you to play. As this cloud, as this PC, as the consoles that we all already have.
So it's really telling that the people running Xbox, they looked at their games and went, yeah, exclusives don't really matter, right, guys? Are we right? When in actuality, the only people who say that exclusives don't actually matter are the ones who weren't, let's be real, making any exclusives that are worth buying their console for anyways in the first place. Like Halo, let's be honest, that's been on life support for years. Same with Gears and more. And with Ybarra claiming that Nintendo should abolish exclusives in general, it just comes off as tone deaf to me. Especially since this guy ran rank games like Call of Duty of all things for a few years. Which, by the way, funny that he would say that, because if I remember correctly, didn't Activision have a deal with Nintendo that every Call of Duty game would land on Nintendo Switch, and that still hasn't really happened yet, even though they signed that deal? But anyways, I think Nintendo's current strategy actually is clearly working for them. They already have more actual exclusive titles on the Switch 2 than, say, the PS5. Despite only debuting not even 6 months ago, as of this video anyways. Obviously, I started the video with Legends Z8, which sold 5.8 million units. Regardless of that being the least bought Pokemon game of the bunch available so far, it is still a mountain of cash, no really how you slice it. And arguably, any of these companies would be willing to commit war crimes to get anything that is even close to those sales numbers in today's age. But the truth is that Microsoft and Sony have spent far too much money on their exclusives in terms of development, and in Microsoft's case especially, outside of maybe Forza as a series, pretty much all of their games consistently underperform otherwise or stuck in development hell. How long has that Fable reboot been in development? Way too long already. So it's really no wonder why they believe that exclusives are now antiquated, because they haven't been able to reasonably create a winning strategy where they can actually make games that are, for one, cheaper to develop, and two, make games that people actually want to buy at release. Game Pass, obviously, has completely evaporated the majority of their goodwill already. I don't need to hammer home on that because you already know it to be true. But I guess I too would think exclusives are also antiquated if my exclusives just frankly, well, weren't selling like they used to. However, let's be real. Microsoft's exclusives were selling like Nintendo's do consistently, their entire business strategy would be completely different than it is right now. Halo and Gears would have never came to PlayStation if their development pipeline wasn't an absolute nightmare. Look at even Sony. I said this before, but I think that PS5 is the weakest showcase of exclusive titles in their entire history as well. Everything besides pretty much Demon's Souls Remake and I guess Astrobot so far is not console exclusive. Sure, the PS5 is still selling, because let's be real, it's the only console third-party wise that can reasonably run games well, because Xbox just keeps faltering, and PC just keeps getting slapped around with terrible third-party releases like crazy. That's not PC players' faults, that's the publishers instead. But it still needs to be said. I mean, PC has had terrible ports all the time. Monster Hunter Wilds, Jedi Survivor, Mass Effect Andromeda, Diablo 3 back in the day, Anthem, Redfall, Fallout 76. Well, that was bad for everybody. But anyways, Batman Arkham Knight even notoriously ran like sludge water on PC when it released in 2015, and that's just naming a few games. So really, if you want to play third-party games and have them run reasonably well at release without sacrificing too much in like the long run, I guess, the PS5 is kind of the only alternative right now. Yet they would, in my opinion, and Sony, be even stronger if their exclusives are actually, great and not being ported constantly to PC. I know why they do it, because again, costs are way too high. It's as if everyone is just chasing this, everything must be graphically the best possible, and the game world or whatever has to be as big as Texas mentality. But again, Legends Z8 just sold almost 6 million units. Arceus sold almost 15 million units in total so far. And look at it compared to, say, God of War Ragnarok or Spider-Man 2. I'm not saying that the graphics need to be worse, but what I am saying is clearly Nintendo has cracked the code, if you will, on game development that the rest of these big industry titans have frankly they just completely forgotten how to do it, dude. How many games that were meant to be live service that were prioritized by Sony over first-party single-player titles this generation alone? Like, how many has there been? You had that Last of Us multiplayer game, but it's dead. What about that God of War live service title at Bluepoint? Also dead. You had Concord. That one's gone. Apparently, even Fair Games is close to cancellation if it hasn't been already. The Twisted Metal live service game got canceled too. Deviation was making a live service game for Sony. Oh, right, they shut that game down and canceled the entire studio while they were at it. Payback for Bungie, which was meant to be Destiny 3, right, that's canceled as well. Great. And in terms of Nintendo's current ecosystem, which encompasses the Switch 1 and 2 combined, they have so far where you can only play these games on Nintendo consoles. Pokemon Legends ZA, Legends Arceus, Scarlet and Violet, Diamond and Pearl remakes, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is a remaster, so maybe we can't count that one, but I mean, it is still only playable on Nintendo consoles anyways, but let's keep going. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Mario Party Jamboree, Fire Emblem Three Houses, and that other Fire Emblem game, things called Engage. You have Animal Crossing New Horizons, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mario and Luigi Brothers Ship, Astral Chain, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Octopia, Luigi's Mansion 3, At a 3, Super Mario RPG Remake, Metroid Dread, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Kirby Air Riders, Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Breath of the Wild, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pikmin 4, Super Mario 3D World, Post Bowser's Fury, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity and Age of Imprisonment, Mario vs. Donkey Kong and Dust Bloods is coming too, and there's more, but like, do I really need to keep going to prove my point? What's the point, right? I just listed more games as exclusives to Nintendo's like Switch's ecosystem alone than Sony has in the PS5 and Xbox have had combined pretty much for years. And because of these exclusives, Nintendo arguably has never been stronger. It doesn't excuse them from charging an arm and a leg, I understand that. But objectively so, their games are selling and their franchises are strong. So the Mike Yamara saying that exclusives are antiquated, that just feels wrong to me. It just sounds like something that someone who has nothing to support their claims would say in the end, really. I'm not calling them a liar, but it's very obvious the rest of the industry is reeling in layoffs, they're scared to take risks, and everything is so expensive to make, and Nintendo is over here with frankly basically no layoffs, making all kinds of records all the time, and they're making multiple bestsellers for the price of like a single console. Like, think about it, guys. Legend Z8 made more money in a week than the budget of Concord, which is allegedly $400 million somehow, yet they shut that game down in 2 weeks. And if we took Concord's budget, Sony could have made almost 31 Pokemon Legends ZA size games in comparison, by the way. Like, the industry is cooked because of overspending, overpromising, and frankly under-delivering too. Maybe if Sony actually took a note out of their biggest competitor, Nintendo's hat, they too would be swimming in way more money as well. But it doesn't surprise me to see Xbox's leaders say that exclusives are antiquated, when sure they have had nothing but flops besides maybe the Forza series, like I said, for years now. Nintendo is embarrassing the industry with their exclusives, and their mission structure is making them the money they need while not sharing it either by them. Objectively speaking, if Nintendo released Pokemon or Zelda on PC or PlayStation, would they make more money? Yes, obviously, of course they will. But the reality is that they would also need to share the profits of those releases with the platform holders that they would release their games on too. Nintendo, obviously, with their own platform, with their own games that they own the IPs 100% and all of that, they genuinely get also 100% of the income that gets bought from those games to them and them alone. They don't have to share that with anybody, so no exclusives is not really antiquated. It's just the industry has made so many mistakes that the only way they think that they can survive now is by casting as wide a net as possible. Otherwise, let's be honest, low pace of living. Nintendo has proved that this is not true, but it doesn't absolve them either, since again they are still trying to embrace powerful existence, and they did just push AAA games to new higher prices too. But objectively saying that exclusives don't sell consoles is just flat out lying, and they know that, because Xbox would be full of exclusives themselves, but they mucked up their platform so poorly through mismanagement that it proves themselves wrong either way. But I will end this video with what Phil Spencer said just a year ago about Xbox and Halo. Here's what he said: if we lose our way with Halo, we lose our way with Xbox. Because Halo and the importance of games like Call of Duty and other shooters, that state-of-the-art needs to continue to move forward, and our team at 343 needs to move forward with that. That's always going to be one of our success criteria. And yet they just announced Halo on PS5. 343 got rebranded to Halo Studios 2, and exclusives are now suddenly antiquated. These people just don't know what they're doing anymore. They're just flailing for a lifeline at this point. And look, I don't want the industry to adopt Nintendo's higher-priced games, or just suing other games they don't like, I guess, but they at least got one thing right, okay? And that is their exclusives. And again, Legend ZA just sold almost 6 million copies in a week, so saying that exclusives are antiquated, what are we even talking about, guys? It's simply not true. But this video is long, so what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to watch, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And oh, Phil Spencer, you guys definitely lost your way with Halo. That much is as proof as any.
Who is the real barbarian?
Warrior, you will not best me.
And it just turned $5 to $150 in bonus bets. You're good, Kevin. Well, let's see your money. If you all this, that's a community. The Discord
discourse surrounding Pokemon Legends ZA
My
is now
enemies
reaching
will
a
choke
fever
on their
point.
own
I don't
blood.
know where it could go from here, but new information has come out, and it's got Pokemon fans defending Nintendo with their lives now. So, I want to talk about the alleged sales that got released, some users calling the entire discourse surrounding ZA as a grifting nightmare, and I also played Digimon's latest game for about 7 hours. Let me just say, going from Legends ZA to Digimon Story Time Stranger has been eye-opening, to say the least, but I'll get into that part later on in the video. Firstly, it has come to my attention that Nintendo's sales in at least one region has been revealed for Pokemon Legends ZA, which is in the United Kingdom. This comes from NintendoSoup.com, as it reads here, Pokemon Legends ZA launched sales 40% lower than Pokemon Legends Arceus in the UK. Now, before people start thinking any words and losing their minds, a lot needs to be said here in context to make sense of this. Firstly, ZA was still number one in the charts regardless because, well, Pokemon, who are we kidding? The game is not going to flop. It definitely made its budget back and then some. It was definitely still profitable for Nintendo because, again, as older reports already suggested, the game only needed to sell 200,000 to 300,000 copies to make back its entire budget, which is crazy, but that's true. Which ZA has definitely already done. However, this being 40% lower than Arceus is definitely a cracking armor for reasons, and is a big reason why we even here making this video to begin with. Firstly, it tells me that the discourse is not some echo chamber like some may suggest. It's instead an actual thing that is spreading across the entire gaming sphere when it comes to Nintendo games. And that it also proves, at least in the UK, that voicing your opinion can affect and change things. So the actual source of this 40% number is Christopher Drain of TheGameBusiness.com. This is the same guy who shared alleged Ghost of Yotei sales numbers from the UK as well, where they also didn't share concrete actual sales, but just percentages again. And he does that here again, by the way, but here's what he said. Pokemon Legends ZA is comfortably number one in the UK physical charts. Launch sales are 40% lower than Pokemon Legend Arceus. 51% of sales were for the Switch 2 edition. It's the second biggest Switch 2 game of the year behind Mario Kart World. As also seen here, a user asked String how this would compare to digital sales. String says not a lot, which would agree. Pokemon Legends ZA is still likely to do well for Nintendo because, again, its budget was peanuts, which by looking at the game, yep, we can tell. However, that 40% drop is interesting when you factor in the logistics of what happened here to really understand what's going on. So, Legends ZA was 40% lower than Arceus physically in the UK. Arceus came out in 2022, in January to be precise. Roughly in 2022, Nintendo had an install base of Nintendo Switch players of roughly 122 million consoles sold by December 2022, according to this estimate. But the closest number that I could find online to exactly how many Switches were sold and in customers' hands around the time that Arceus was officially released is about 107 million Switches, which was by March 2022. Here's the exact numbers you can see on screen for yourself. 107.65 million units sold by March 2022 is what Google estimates. Of course, these are not the exact numbers, but it's at least something that we can go by regardless. So with just the Switch 1 as their install base at the time, Arceus was able to achieve 40% higher sales, at least physically, when compared to Legends ZA, which is, yes, a big jump. And also, if you enjoy the content, consider subscribing, like the video, leave me a comment, thank you, helps a lot. But considering, of course, when Legends ZA actually released, the official number of Nintendo Switches in the wild was a roaring 153 million units of potential customers. So combining that with, of course, the Switch 2 also being available for roughly not even 6 months yet, as of this big little video anyways, that means that the Switch 2 lifetime sales is hovering currently somewhere near 8.6 to about 9 million units sold so far. This means that the potential consumer base that could in theory buy Legends ZA at release was an eye-watering 162 million console users, or so, give or take, that have a console that is capable of buying and playing Legends ZA day one. So circling back to those Arceus numbers, that means Arceus sold more physically in the end either way, because Nintendo by the way, does not share digital numbers. So we can't really say what those numbers are officially, but that Legends Arceus sold more physically on 107.65 million Nintendo Switches compared to that of Legends Z8, which sold to 162 potential million Switches, and that includes Switch 2 as well in that number, which Arceus obviously did not have at the time. That's a staggering difference in install bases. I think we can agree on that one. Essentially, this means that Legends Z8 was outsold by a game available on roughly 50% less of the available hardware compared to what it is now. Well, the question then comes up, which is, well, what happened? Well, two things. Firstly, it could just be that digital purchases are far more prevalent today than before, which is absolutely true, and you really can't refute that. The reality is that the majority of games bought these days are digital over physical after all. That just can't be denied. Digital sales by 2023 alone completely eclipsed the physical market already back then. Digital sales on consoles combined was a total of 83% of all the sales in 2023. It's likely even higher now. But overall game revenue in 2023 alone, again, as we will state here, as you can see, is an insane 95% of revenue came from digital-only sales. These are the estimates, but considering that this dukkob이의 성남 모습은 2023 and some of 2024 for consoles in general, it's a pretty good depiction of what's happening. So likely what is going on with Legends today is that physically the game is not selling
I grant you the blessings of Mutal.
Frankly, the physical market is just shrinking. But it is still undeniably selling less physically, at least in the UK, according to Christopher Durango, compared to Arceus, which has, I guess, upset Nintendo fans. Because they believe that this loss of physical sales, I guess, which for Nintendo fans, physical games are still very much a big reason. Just go look at the keycard controversy, how much that's affected sales already too. And that is a particular draw for that side of gaming, I mean Nintendo fans. It is a big deal regardless. Because the reality is that some Nintendo fans are at least very mad that stories like this are even being reported in the first place. As you can see here from YouTuber Fake Wizard's Twitter account, who shared that same Nintendo Soup article I mentioned in this video. Obviously, the comments on that post is full of Nintendo fans white knighting for the comment. As shown with this person who has all their key cards on display with Legends in the middle, saying that they did their part in buying it. This other user, as seen here, blames the economy and the system upgrade divide, which I mean, sure, the economy is always in flux, but the Nintendo Switch 2 existing would not impact the sales of Legends Z8. It would only actually increase them, because again, this game in particular is a video game system. And to nip that in the bud quickly, here's an article from Nintendo Life that also references Christopher Drink's report that states that Z8 sold almost 50-50 on both Switch 1 and 2 in the UK at least, which is what these fans are fighting against. So this is not only relevant, but it also challenges and disproves their claims that a system divide would have any real meaningful effect on potential sales, which it wouldn't. Some people were really reaching, however, like this user who said that Legends Z8 may have sold less in the UK because of mass migration in the UK, and that the citizens have bigger things to deal with, like gangs and stuff, but I don't know what that has to do with Pokemon, but okay. Anyway, another user would also reply, I love it when fans of this garbage come and tell me, why are you attacking us for enjoying it? When they were the ones attacking us for criticizing it, and the moment we hit back, they tap out, cry me a river, and I mean, they're not wrong.
You have to keep the right guy to the pole, but oh no, it's gonna get there first and he close it off so we don't get any. And now a bear's coming. We gotta climb up this tree high for him. Okay, he's away. Wait, there's a frozen snake here. Let me throw that in there. And he's gonna defrost, and now he's gonna go after red. I can take the cold for myself.
Robes in the
I'm
world
in here,
are only
put it in my
half as
fire,
handsome
and
as a
nice,
military
we're getting an
uniform.
upgrade.
I shall
Now we have
become
some more
your
people to help.
nightmares incarnate.
Nintendo fans aren't exactly, I guess, used to having pushback like this with their games. Most of their franchises, the people just kind of accept them for what they are. Mostly because they, frankly, let's be real, have no choice if they want to enjoy these games after all in the first place, because they're usually only on Nintendo systems anyways. I'm just going down the comment section here, and it's kind of just full of people like this guy who said, as a lifelong fan, I absolutely refuse to buy this piece of trash. Another user would say, good, let them know you have standards and aren't going to pay AAA price for something that doesn't even qualify as a AA product. What was also interesting was the number that Drink pulled from this included the Nintendo Switch 2 bundle of ZA, as seen here. A user would ask him, and he would confirm that yes, this does include physical sales of actual Switches that had ZA included as well. So again, I must reiterate, does this mean that ZA is somehow cool? I wouldn't go that far because no, again, Nintendo smartly makes these games for next to nothing in the grand scheme of things anyways. They could in theory sell only 1 million copies. And even then, that game would still in theory be profitable. However, when it comes to being the biggest IP in the world right now, 1 million of course is not enough of these types. One user would also push back against Big Wizard in his comment section, as seen here, and Big Wizard would reply by saying that no matter what companies like Nintendo want to see, their game's doing better, not worse, in any meaningful way regardless, especially if the game in question is, like I said, the biggest IP ever. I still do think that Nintendo is likely happy with the sales. Sure, I'm not saying that the game is flopped at all. I don't want anyone saying that I'm saying that because I'm not saying it. But this drop does show, at least in the UK, that there has been a shift that is happening to a degree that can't be refuted. And it is also interesting that RC is sold 40% more visibly, despite being, again, roughly on almost 50% less actual consoles in the market too when that came out. But again, you're not going to hear me saying Legend ZA is a flop either way, because frankly it isn't. Maybe if it was made for like $100 billion, we're having a much different conversation right now. But when your game's budget is so small compared to, say, other AAA games around it, Nintendo is